He's back, he dodges, he counters, and he ends games without doing a single thing. He's MUI Goku. While he is the strongest unit in the game, he can be countered. And if you want to win in PvP right now, you need to know how. Hey, Dreamy here, and welcome to the first episode of H2C, aka How to Counter, the series where I talk about how to defeat a specific character. And for this episode, it's actually going to be LF transforming MUI Goku, the latest in toxic units when it comes to Dragon Ball Legends, not just the unit who is so incredibly overpowered and so promoting of passive play, but also a unit who I didn't pull. And so I have that additional motivation to essentially just wreck this guy and hopefully teach everyone how to do it. Let's just get right into it. Let's break him down one step at a time. Right off the bat, when we're talking about MUI's strengths, he obviously has the auto dodge with his unique gauge, which is actually pretty strong, even in his base form, right? On top of that, he also has endurance, which means he'll be a lot tougher to actually take down immediately from the start of the fight. And you need to rely on characters who can nullify endurance right off the bat. Units like whoever it is on God Key, like Super Saiyan God Goku, units on Universe Rep, or even units on Saiyan, like Majin Vegeta, for example. These characters make it much tougher to actually kill UI Goku right off the bat. And so a lot of times, getting rid of his endurance is already a blessing. And the reason he dominates fights so easily is just because he is a very passive character, right? And he punishes opponents very easily. And this makes him very strong because essentially you have to do nothing and your opponent has to do everything just to take you down. Well, you basically have to put in a minimum amount of effort just to get the upper hand against your opponents. And that's just him before transforming. After transforming, UI Goku becomes an even bigger threat. And the reason for this is not just because he obviously gets a buff for his stats when he transforms, but it's also because he experiences a change in his kit. His green card goes from a stop time to a counter. So not only does he have a unique gauge that allows him to auto dodge, but also counter after the fact and doing a lot of damage with it, by the way. He also has a green card that allows him to counter all tap attacks, strikes, and blasts. Baiting this guy's unique gauge even just becomes straight up impossible using regular methods. The fact that his unique gauge does deplete as the battle goes on steadily while he's in the battlefield, it does give you an advantage, and it does give you the option of obviously playing passively along with him. But again, that just means that you'll have a much tougher time starting your own combo, while UI Goku just has all the freedom in the world. And now that we know what he does, at least a basic understanding of it, let's talk about how to stop it. First of all, let's talk about how to build a team that can really counter the character. Ideally, it's important for you to focus on characters who can do a lot of damage against him. So ideally, you focus on using green units, but right now, green isn't exactly the most popular color in the meta. You're left with only a few options who are really good, and I guess I'll list them off right now. And so the first character that I would recommend, and obviously the one that we've seen the most online, probably the most popular option, the one that I recommend the most, would be transforming LF Vegito Blue. And this is pretty obvious. It's mainly because of his ability to essentially nullify combo breaks. In the game, it's called combo breaks, right? It's the shortened version, but you don't necessarily have to be within a combo in order for that effect to activate. It's this right here. Applies buff effect, nullifies enemies, auto counters, evade actions, and special actions that activate when changing cover to self for 10 timer counts. This is huge. As long as this isn't cancelled by any enemy effect, this allows you to attack MUI Goku without being disturbed in any way. You're not threatened by the effects of the unique gauge, but obviously that doesn't necessarily delete the threat of being hit by MUI Goku's green card, right? Because that still counts as its own effect. It's not an auto counter, it's just a raw counter. And on top of that, he's also a green unit, so he does have the color advantage against MUI Goku, and so it's very clearly, it was almost like he was made for this. The only flaw that I could really probably list off is the fact that he doesn't have any uncancelable endurance in his kit. So that's probably the biggest weakness for Vegito, because again, if MUI Goku is paired with a unit who can cancel endurance nullification, that just means that this goes completely to waste, even before transforming, where that doesn't even happen. And again, probably the most critical point in time where you should be focusing on taking down UI Goku would be before he transforms. And so if you're waiting for your own character's transformation just to get rid of his endurance, that becomes a bit of a problem, and ultimately you have to deal with MUI Goku as his own unit, and you're basically throwing away that window of opportunity where you can actually just kill him right off the bat. Now moving on to a few sleeper options, I suppose, one of which is probably going to be the most recent Super Saiyan 2 Caulifla and Kale. Again, I wouldn't say that they're the best. Far from it, to be honest. It's just that Kale is a green unit and a melee unit who's on the featured list when it comes to PvP, which means that she has the advantage against MUI Goku in terms of his color, and in terms of stats, she can keep up. And obviously with this color advantage, there comes additional benefits, like being able to tank MUI Goku's auto counters a lot better. That in itself is actually a pretty strong thing that people tend to overlook, because MUI Goku's counters do a lot of damage from his unique gauge, that is. And being able to actually withstand that damage while also providing utility for yourself is actually pretty nice. Caulifla and Kale actually get buffs whenever they're hit by an enemy arts, as you can see right here. And so intentionally biting the bullet and taking damage by baiting out that green card from MUI Goku post-transformation, that is, it's not a half bad idea, to be completely honest with you. But other than that, the character doesn't really have like any of those like really big qualities. If you got shafted on MUI Goku's banner like I did, this character isn't completely useless, and there are definitely some use cases, even, as niche as they may be. Another sleeper option that I do recommend, and the one that I actually used in experimentations, Ultra Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black, is a character who I really like, and I'll explain why. The first thing is because he has a ranged blue card. I think this is really strong because not only is the blue card really strong in itself in terms of damage and effects, it's also a ranged blue card, something that MUI Goku can't counter, and in a position where you make a lot of range with your opponent, if MUI Goku even sidesteps, right? And that's very unlikely, but if they do, you can just pop the blue card and do an insane amount of damage thanks to him having the color advantage. Using a ranged blue card allows you to bait MUI Goku's vanish, and if you can line up the shot properly, using this blue card and comboing it with, say, an ultimate, which you can get very easily with Goku Black, as we know, especially with his platinum equipment, that'll allow you to get a kill pretty easily. And again, so long as the opponent doesn't have the ability to cancel endurance nullification, you're good. The ult can actually kill fairly cleanly, and it's definitely huge in specific situations where the blue card is the first bait that gets rid of the vanish, and then you can follow up with the ult with which MUI Goku also can't counter in any way. It becomes a pretty powerful combination that's worth taking into consideration. On top of that, his green card is also pretty strong. Not only does it give you the blue card that you need to bait out that vanish, like I said before, it's a stop time, right? So you don't run the risk of losing a neutral position, neutral standing with MUI Goku. And you can essentially apply this logic of using ranged special moves for all characters, ranged special attacks, that is. So even a character like Ultra Cell, for example, he obviously has the type disadvantage, which gives him a massive disadvantage overall when it comes to battling MUI Goku, but the fact that he has a ranged special arts as well as natural endurance nullification that cannot be cancelled, that's obviously really strong, and that'll allow you to essentially eliminate MUI Goku fairly early on. But again, the fact that he does have that color disadvantage, when you take it to a massive scale, when you take it to a battle of 14-star units, Cell isn't going to be doing too great of a job, and if your opponent plays well enough, a lot of times you're going to get punished and Ultra Cell is going to get wiped. Another character, I guess, who also has a ranged special move would probably be Gohan and Trunks, I guess. Only the Trunks side, though, after the succession has happened, they're useless until they revive. But units alone won't save you. How you play matters just as much. So for starters, in terms of how you're supposed to play against him, right? Well, MUI Goku is still pre-transformed. You can easily tap check his unique gauge by using tap blasts, tackles, and quick attacks, like I said before. It's really easy, and it allows you to essentially eliminate the opponent's safety buffer right off the bat. Get rid of his vanishing gauge, and then hit him with a combo that's really, really strong. Hopefully it's enough to at least get rid of his endurance, and I feel like that's the first point of strategy, is that you are very unlikely to kill him immediately as the match starts. So at the very least, you need to aim to get rid of his endurance first. And again, if MUI Goku transforms immediately, he won't actually get maximum stats, and that's a pretty big disadvantage for the people using him, but that's obviously an advantage for us as we're the ones who are trying to counter him and get rid of him for good. It just means that before transforming, we can check his gauge and hit him with a combo that hurts. Post-transformation is obviously most likely we're going to be seeing MUI Goku, where he's going to be a real problem, and this is probably where there should be a greater focus when it comes to strategy, right? Because forcing vanishes for MUI Goku is damn near impossible, because there are only really a few characters who can actually force it out, namely characters who have ranged special moves. They have the greater advantage because MUI Goku thrives in short range. That's a given, right? Because in short range, MUI Goku has the option of tapping, which is really, really nice. but you don't, because MUI Goku also has the option of countering taps with his green card. And so what that means is, in order for you to kind of maximize your advantage, maximize your chances of winning against MUI Goku and preventing him from getting the upper hand against you, the best way to do it is to focus on making range, creating distance. And the best way to force a vanish out of the character is to use a ranged attack that's not a blast. So a ranged special move, a ranged special arts, even like from a character like Cell. This will allow you to essentially get MUI Goku to at least vanish. Now say you actually do it correctly, your best play is to rush. And that's not always going to be the case, but a lot of times when it comes down to the last man standing, it gets very risky. This is probably the best play that you have, because if you try to do anything else, a lot of times MUI Goku can just tap you. You're gonna get cooked, he's gonna be completely safe. One thing that I have read from personal experience though, at least from like the few matches that I've done using this team, will be the fact that a lot of MUI Goku players are very impatient. And that's like one of their biggest weaknesses probably, because if they do stay patient, they're basically unstoppable. What do I mean by impatient? A lot of times, MUI Goku players, when you pop the auto counter and you get to a level of HP that's really, really low, to the point where you're basically one tap away from getting killed, a lot of times the MUI Goku player will actually take that initiative, will actually try to KO your character using a quick attack. And because of that, you can take advantage of it. You can use a rush. And if you're using a character who can nullify endurance naturally, like Ultra Cell, like I said in the beginning, hopefully with a Rising Rush, the damage is enough to actually get rid of him. And so one thing to take away from this is the fact that Rising Rushes are probably going to be your best friend when you're going up against a character like MUI Goku, where your only options are really using a special move, using an ult, or using obviously the Rising Rush to actually do damage. The Rising Rush is probably the most reliable, but when it comes to actually baiting out his Vanishing Gauge, sorry we're talking about MUI Goku here specifically, using a ranged special move or special arts is probably going to be the best way to go. And the difference between a ranged special arts and special move, there are obviously some ups and downs. If you're using a ranged special arts, that means that if the opponent doesn't dodge, you'll obviously have the opportunity to continue with a combo, because UI Goku can't break attacks mid-combo. While with a special move, obviously, if UI Goku doesn't dodge, he's taking a lot of damage. Essentially, it forces UI Goku to dodge. Like, when you're faced with that situation where you're in long range and you hit them with a ranged attack, the only option really there is to dodge, is to use up your vanish, which in turn is probably going to be the best strategy to use against MUI Goku. And so yeah, let's wrap this up with some final thoughts. We need to remember that we need to focus on color advantage, as well as natural endurance, as well as ranged special attacks. These are the things that are going to be really helpful against MUI Goku, especially after he's transformed. So using a character like Vegito Blue, who can essentially nullify his greatest strengths from his unique gauge, on top of him also having the ability to do a lot of damage with his color advantage, he's probably one of the most optimal candidates when it comes to taking down MUI Goku. On top of that, you also have some sleeper options like Tag killing Caulifla, who have the ability to tank at least from the Kale side, and that's about it. Future Gohan and Trunks, who has the ranged blue card after the succession effects with Super Saiyan Trunks, as well as a character like Ultra Cell, who has the ability to nullify endurance naturally, on top of having a ranged green card, which allows him to initiate the Vanishing Gauge removal strategy from just now. My personal favorite character, again, would obviously be Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black, just because he has all the ingredients necessary to actually be a pretty solid candidate as a MUI Goku assassin, essentially. As mentioned in the strategy section, it's important to focus on getting rid of UI Goku pre-transformation as soon as possible early on in the match, taking advantage of his need to use strikes and blasts in order to unlock his full potential after transforming. And after transforming, in a lot of cases, he does actually manage to do so. You want to maintain long distance while focusing on baiting out the opponent's Vanishing Gauge from that safe distance, preferably using an attack that UI Goku just can't counter using either his unique gauge or his green card, like a ranged special move or ranged special arts. Make sure to follow that up, ideally with the Rising Rush, but if you are planning on following up with a powerful attack like an ultimate, or say for example you switch characters and try to jump in with a melee special move, just make sure that UI Goku isn't tapping you, otherwise your animation is obviously going to get cancelled. Also, don't forget to take advantage of your opponent's impatience So whenever you activate MUI Goku's auto counter, be it on accident or on purpose, whenever your character is at low HP, it's a really good opportunity to take advantage of using your opponent's follow-up attack and countering with an attack that can override it, like a Rising Rush. Just make sure you have a clear goal in mind and understand what you need to do whenever you're faced with a specific phase of MUI Goku's transformation. I just hope you guys don't really stick to this very specific list. I feel like it's important for all of us, everyone in the community, especially those who got shafted, to work together and experiment as to how we're supposed to take him down, using different unit combinations to see what really works. And I really want to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below. I really want to know, what are your solutions? Is there anything that I forgot to mention here? I probably missed a few things. You shouldn't take my words as gospel. And if you want to keep watching my content, you can check out the video that I made discussing the leaks for MUI Goku and how it actually kind of damages the game. So you should go check that out if you're interested. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this video and this first episode of H2C. Bye. Thanks for watching. Never stay perfect. Always get better. Peace.